Alright, so if you're watching this, you're probably either gonna ORD soon or you have just ORD'd. Either way, congrats, you have just finished 2 years and you're gonna be stepping out into the real world. Common question is, what do I do after I ORD? And that's kind of tricky. Usually, you either work or you go find a job. Usually you will work or you go further your studies, whether it's poly, uni, IT, whatever. Those are the two categories that people usually follow. But I'm here to discuss something that not many people consider, and that is taking a gap year. So here's a list of things that I'm going to be talking about. Talking about what it is, what it isn't, what you're going to do, pros and cons, as well as probably questions that you might be asking at the end of the video. So stick around if you are having doubts right now, because I'm going to be trying to cover as much as possible within this few minutes. Let's start with talking about what it isn't. This is not going to be a gap year where you waste your time, you play games at home, you casually look for jobs that you're not interested in, even jobs that aren't going to help you in your future career. No, 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 no. This is going to be a year where you taste different jobs and you kind of get a feel of what you're passionate about, what do you find meaningful, as well as what brings you joy in your life, which I guess relates to passion. What you can do in the long term as well, if you figure out that, hey, this is something I want to do. So like any plan that you might have, there's always a risk. If you go to uni, there's a risk that maybe you can't pay off your debt. If you go to work, maybe there's the risk that you might get retrenched or maybe you don't enjoy it. And so with this gap year, there's also that same amount of risk, but I feel like it's really not as much as the other two options. So let's talk about the cons first. What would be so bad if you decide to take this gap year? So the first and obvious con is that because you have just ORD'd, you have used up 2 years of your life and you are technically behind everyone by 2 years. Whether it's the JC girls, poly girls, or even like people outside of Singapore, whether it's in the US or Japan, anywhere that does not have mandatory national service, those are the people that you are going to be losing out to. So that's the first con. Taking a gap year will make that gap 1 year wider, and that might be something that is holding you back from pursuing what you're really passionate about. Second one is that, let's say you go to uni, you're definitely going to be older than your peers, again mainly the JC and poly girls, because they didn't have to serve 2 years of NS, as well as like international students that are coming to Singapore to study. You're going to be a lot older than them. Although 2 years isn't much, at this age it's the difference between like being married with a kid and still being single, so 2 years can be a lot at this age. And the third and last one that I could think of is you're probably going to get ridicule from your parents if they do not support the idea, especially if they are from a more like traditional, less open-minded kind of background. Then a gap year would not really be something they want you to do, because again, you're behind and they just want you to go and do a degree, get a safe, steady job, and then move on to building up your career and then having a family. Those are the three main things I could think of. If there are any other cons that you can think of, please add it in the comment section below and we can have a discussion about that. So those were the cons. Let's move on to what are the pros. What are the benefits to taking a gap year? Because I have thought of 5 different reasons and I think those really outweigh the 3 reasons that you shouldn't do it. So the first pro is that you gain insight to an industry. You get to know the ins and outs, you get to know the daily routines of what they actually do, and you can see if this job is actually what you are passionate about. Maybe you thought IT was fun. Now you get to see what daily life looks like, and if it was to be long term, then you know what to expect. Second one is that you gain experience. Because you're working there for, let's say, 6 months, you get to see most of the things that go about in the job. Maybe a few things are restricted because of your lack of experience, but for the most part, I think you get to see what 80% of the job does, and from there you can kind of gauge whether again you're passionate about that job and whether you want to pursue it. And that kind of brings me to like a sub point, which is when you go to university, you're gonna have an edge over all the other competitors, all the other students, because you have had insight to this industry. You know what is actually practical when you're learning. Maybe there are some things that can be shortcut, or maybe some things you really need to focus on because you have had experience with that. I think that gives you an edge, because imagine you're going to an engineering course and you have had 6 months of engineering work experience outside. You're going to know a lot of things that other people won't know, so that's going to give you a huge advantage over everyone else. Third one is that you will receive an income. You will kind of get a taste of what adulthood is like, because let's say it's not an internship, let's say it's a full-time job. You are easily earning 2 to 3 times what your allowance was in NS. And that gives you that flexibility to spend on what you like. You get more freedom in that sense. And hey, if you ever decide you need a degree and go back to university, well, you kind of have money saved up, assuming that you didn't spend everything on food and clothes. That allows you not to be in as much debt as other people would be. Fourth one is that you will potentially find your passion. By going through this job and finding experiences, you get to experience firsthand whether this job is fulfilling. Again, going back to my first point, knowing the ins and outs of everything that runs inside this job. And finally, the fifth and last point is that you have nothing to lose at this age. I want you to imagine trying to pursue your dream in 10 years' time. You probably have a wife, family, bills to pay, different kind of commitments, whether it's elderly parents or whether it's just supporting your family. I really doubt that if you don't take the risk now, when you have nothing to lose, you're gonna take the risk then when you have so much financial responsibility. These are the reasons why I believe that the pros really outweigh all the cons that you might face. So we're halfway in the video, and if you disagree or agree with any of the cons, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have additional pros and cons that you think I left out. That would just allow more people to see what risk they are taking and have a better calculated risk taken if they decide to go for a gap year. And if you find that this is making sense and you kind of agree with me, please leave a like down below so that we can push this video out to people that are struggling to find their passion and are struggling to think about what they want to do, whether they want to pursue uni or they want to pursue work. So before we jump into questions that you might have right now, I want to share a story about my personal experience on why I really believe that you need a gap year. So before going to poly, I really enjoyed cooking. It was my passion, it was my hobby, and I thought that, hey, if I really enjoy cooking, this passion will be easily translated into work. And not only is it in high demand because everyone needs to eat, it's also my passion, so I thought I would really enjoy it. I think you can see where this is going. When I went for a full-time job, finally, the work experience was not what I was expecting. Cooking for your friends, your family, and people that you actually enjoy being around is totally different from cooking for strangers and people that you will never see again in your life. And in fact, half the time in the kitchen, I never saw anyone because it was closed off. So that really opened my eyes into what did I really enjoy about my passion for cooking. I realized that it was the aspect of having people and interacting with them that I really loved. When I cooked food and when I served it to them, people could tell me, hey, that tastes great, do it again. Or if it was bad, which it rarely is, then people would say like, oh, this is a bit salty, this is a bit too sweet, and I could take a reference and kind of improve on it and work on my recipes as I know what kind of audience I'm reaching out to. But when I was in the kitchen, because I couldn't see anyone, I didn't know if my food was good. And as much as I tasted it and as much as I was always cooking it, I couldn't know for sure what the customers were thinking unless they sent it back lah, which rarely happened again. So that was really a sad time for me, and I'm really glad that I did not go into a further degree of culinary because I don't think that I would enjoy working in the kitchen 24/7, 7 days a week. I feel like my personality really suits to be around people, and maybe if I do pursue F&B, it might be to be a personal chef or some kind of open kitchen where I can interact with the guests. So what's the point of that story? Well, if I had chosen to pursue a degree and then I came out and realized that, hey, this kitchen thing kind of sucks. I don't get to see people, I don't get to interact with anyone besides people in the kitchen, then I had just wasted 3 to 4 years on a degree which probably costs around like 40k. I'll be in debt, I'll be 3 to 4 years older, and I'll be a lot more disappointed because I invested so much into that. Disappointed! So that's the fear that I have for a lot of you guys. I do not want you guys to go out and do something that you feel like you are slightly passionate about, and then you realize, hey, this is not the job for me. I want you to really take time, think about it, and find some practical work experience so that you can go and get a job that you are passionate about and you are really enthusiastic to be there. A job where you'll be waking up at 7 a.m. happy, excited, and going to work feeling very vibrant and coming back even more energetic because you just love the place. Now I understand I'm young and this is probably an unrealistic expectation, but I don't think that it's impossible. I just think it's kind of rare because people don't take time to evaluate their jobs properly. And I really empathize with people that cannot do this because they need money to support their family, so you're just taking any job that you can right now. But for the majority of us that don't have that responsibility yet, please consider a gap year. Don't have regrets. So with that said, let's move on into questions that you might have. First one being, I'm a JC kid. I don't have a diploma, unlike you guys. I need a degree to get a job. That is true to some extent, but that is not totally true because you can always get an internship. Especially since you're gonna ORD in January or February, then you're gonna have at least 6 months before uni starts. So you can always take that 6 months and apply for internships. You do not need experience to apply for an internship. You just need to show interest and passion and maybe some kind of reason as to why you think that job suits you. For example, I have no no experience with media, but I am applying to jobs that are doing internships for video producers so I can get a leg in the whole industry. And I have a JC friend as well who, before NS, he had no experience with accounting, but he managed to get into an accounting firm because of a recommendation from his sister. Maybe he was lucky because he had someone that was already inside that job and he could apply through that. And I understand not many of you have that, but point is that you can still get a job. It's just how hard you try, and you just kind of need to find an internship. So start applying now if you are gonna ORD soon, because it's gonna take a while to find a job. Second one, this is more for the poly students. I can imagine that if you already have a uni placing, you might be thinking like, hey, I already got a uni placing, why should I back out? Or why should I not do uni? Why should I go take a gap year? I'm not asking you to back out. I think a degree is fine, but I'm not asking you to blindly stay there. I think that if you are not very passionate about what you're gonna do, or you don't really have a good idea, especially if this is not an industry that you are very well versed in, I really hope that you can do your own research and find out whether there's an internship for you regarding the course that you want to do. Let's say you do back out, and let's say you decide to take a gap year. It could really look bad to you as you backed out of a uni placing, and the university might be saying things like, wow, you gave up a placing that someone could have potentially failed. You wasted that. But I also think that it could be a positive thing because you're telling the university, I'm not sure if I'm really passionate about this, but I do want to take time to see if I am, and I want to come back when I decided that this is something that I really want to do. Having that kind of confidence and clarity could be a very good thing to you, so it could work both ways. I leave that up to you, but please do your own research and don't blame me if you don't get the uni placing after 1 year, because I honestly don't have much experience with this. These are just my thoughts. The third and last thing that I could think of is, what if you're not passionate about anything? That just brings me back to my first point about why you need to take a gap year, because you have no work experience, or let's say not as much work experience, and you have no clear direction, so you really need to take time to explore these areas on a practical level. You can't just expect to find your passion without finding out what you don't like as well. It's like, let's say chicken rice. Let's say if you're a strict vegetarian and you decide that you will never try chicken rice because you're vegetarian. Okay, that's not a very good example. Let's say you have never tried chicken rice. You've only had duck rice, you've only had nasi lemak, but you never had chicken rice. The only way that you're gonna find out that it's nice and that you enjoy it is that you have to actually place the order, pay for it, and then try it. There's that level of investment of time, money, and a bit of your pride as well, because if you order it and you don't like it, then you're gonna leave half the plate there. But then what if you find out that chicken rice is actually your new favorite thing? Then you wouldn't say that that was a waste of time. You would actually say, wow, I'm glad I spent $3.50 on that chicken rice. So good. And guess what? You have a new favorite food that you can always order when you're not sure what you want to eat at the hawker center. Let me share a story. This is the last one, I promise. I love durian. I know I don't look like I like it, but I really do. It wasn't like one day that I just woke up and tried durian and I was like, wow, this is great. It actually took a few times. So the first time I tried it, when I put it on my tongue, I did not like the taste, I did not like the texture, and I sure didn't like the smell as well. So I was like, nah, this is not really my fruit. I don't get why everyone likes it. Second time I tried it, I was like, okay, this is alright, but no, not for me. Third time, when I tried it, it was like a different experience. I still didn't really like the taste as much, but to me it was like, that's not bad. I wouldn't mind eating this if I was stranded on an island. And when I had it the fourth time, well, that was when I fell in love with it. I was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of sweet. This is a nice texture, and oh, that slight bitterness, wow, that really cuts through all of the gelatinous? The cloyness. Yeah, that's how durian became one of my favorite fruits. It was by constantly trying and not rejecting the opportunity to try it. If I had decided on the first time that I tried it that, hey, I would not try this ever again, then I would never know if I would like it. Because I kept keeping myself open to different opportunities, then I was able to enjoy it when I tried it for the fourth time. So please keep an open mind when you're trying out different jobs. You're definitely gonna face discomfort, but I'm very sure you will find your passion faster by trying out what you don't like than if you just sat there and thought about it all day. So I hope this really brings clarity into what you might want to do after you ORD. We've talked about what a gap year is, what a gap year isn't, pros and cons, as well as maybe questions that you might have. And if you do have time, please check out Gary Vee's video on what to do after college, because I feel like if you are the kind of person that needs people to like just say the truth straight at you, then go watch the video, because he speaks nothing but truth. Something I wanted to add on was, why make this video in the first place? Why should I, with no experience at all, talk about taking a gap year? Well, if you search on YouTube what to do after ORD, you're probably gonna only find like 2 videos. One is by Thomas K, which he talks about Alright, I just checked and both videos are by Thomas K, and it talks more about his experience in army as well as what he plans to do after ORD. Those don't really tell you what to do. And if you search Google what to do after ORD, a lot of it talks about, oh okay, find a job, go celebrate, go take a break, have some kind of holiday. And clearly now with the whole COVID situation, you can't go overseas unless you want to be quarantined and you want to stay stuck in a hotel. There honestly isn't much advice when it comes to the gap year. I just wanted to be that 10% of people that tell you to take a gap year. If you ask your friends, you ask parents, you ask relatives, they are going to tell you, hey, go do your degree, go take your driving license, go do this, go do that. They are not going to tell you to take a gap year. And so I want to be that 10% of people that actually tell you to go and pursue your passion while you are still young. You don't want to wait until you're 35, looking back and seeing like, wow, I have so much responsibility now. I wish I could have taken that gap year and explored my passion.
This is not when the baby's there, some of your babies. This is not when you've been married and you promised. This is not when the world has sucked out all your dreams and hopes yet. You still got this window.
And if you are 35 and watching this, it's not too late as well. You just need to make some adjustments. Maybe save up for a bit and maybe take a few months off to pursue your passion. But I feel like this whole thing is going to be catered to more 20-year-olds. Now that we've talked about what to do, what not to do, blah blah blah, let's talk about my game plan, because I'm going to be ORDing tomorrow as of this recording, and it's kind of scary because I have not really been applying to jobs, and I wish I saw this video sooner. In a sense, this is kind of like what I wish I could tell myself a few months back. So if this has been convincing and you want to do a gap year, then here are two things that you need to do now. Go find an internship, go take a risk, and not let anyone change your decision, because if you do not take a gap year now, you're gonna regret it. I really hope this video was helpful into giving you an insight into what you could potentially do besides just working and besides just going to uni. That's kind of it. If you found it helpful, then please leave a like and consider subscribing as well, because I'm gonna be posting more videos. Some will be updates about this whole gap year and maybe things so far that I've done right and wrong, as well as things to help you develop yourself and improve your life. So if that sounds like something that you want, really getting an edge in life, then subscribe. I don't know if this is gonna go well for me. If it does, then you can see that, hey, this works. And if it doesn't, hey, this doesn't work, and I'm not gonna listen to this angmo. I feel like either way is gonna benefit you by following me. See you in the next video. Bye.